From the Oklahoman newsroom, this is an OSU update. I'm Jenny Carlson. Kyle Fredrickson joins us on the phone. And Kyle, a lot of people talking about this Oklahoma State wide receiver core, obviously headlined by James Washington, returning for his senior year, some other great young talent in this group, but a guy that may be flying a little under the radar because he was gone last year with injury is Marcell Ateman. But Kyle, this guy was fantastic the previous season at the end of the year, really seemed to be coming into his own. What do we know about his return, his recovery, where he is?
Well, he's at full speed right now, which is to be expected considering, the actual injury that kept him out last season happened way last summer. This is a guy who was expected to have a real breakout senior year. Early in his OSU career, dealt with a few maturity issues. OSU sort of wondered if he was ever going to fulfill his potential. But here's a guy with a 6'4", 220-pound frame. Is one of the best leapers on the team with that size as well. Even if Marcell hadn't come back this year, this receiving core might be considered one of the best in the country. But with him, I think it's got to be at least top three when you look across pretty much every single major college football conference. Considering what he could bring to this offense. In 2015 as a junior, he played in every game. He was the third leading receiver with catches and yards, including 11 of those catches for more than 20 yards. So really a big play threat for this team. So with a little bit of continued development, I think OSU thinks he can even improve on those numbers, even in that big pool of receivers, where they might go with some hockey style line changes and sending those guys in and out. So it's been a productive spring so far. And I know coaches and his teammates are pretty optimistic about what might be headed for him.
Yeah, now, Kyle, last year, that injury, he was actually healed late in the year. He could have played in, maybe a handful of games, but opted not to, redshirt to come back to have the full season. Have you had a chance to sort of crawl inside his head at all and see how – I can't imagine that he's unmotivated after sitting out last year, and especially after learning Mason Rudolph's coming back and going to be throwing the pass. I mean, this guy has to be pretty excited that the decision he made not to play last year after that injury looks like it could pay off pretty big.
Oh, no doubt. Here's a guy who, had he decided to not use that redshirt year or to possibly enter the NFL draft, he'd be a legitimate prospect with that size and his frame and the numbers he put up as a junior. I would imagine he'd be a combine invite and a guy who figured to get drafted. But like you mentioned, a chance to come back one more year, or work with Mason Rudolph again, another guy who's going to be an NFL talent. It's just another chance for him to kind of showcase what he can do on a platform to get him a little bit higher up on some of those draft boards. And, I think when we look at what Ateman's going to bring to the offense this year and what he's got to be excited about, it's just really the threat that he poses near the goal line. With all these receivers and all the weapons OSU has, even with Justice Hill in the backfield, Ateman's just one more guy when they get close to the score zone where he can just be unstoppable if the matchup is right. With his size, we saw it over and again as a junior. Mason Rudolph doesn't have to throw a pinpoint pass, to get him the ball. If he can just throw it into a certain area in the corner of the end zone, Ateman's got the size advantage and the athleticism to go up and get it. So Ateman is certainly excited, but I think no one is as excited, next to him than Mason Rudolph, being that he's just another weapon for them to really move the ball down the field this year.
Yeah, definitely becomes sort of a box-out drill when they're down there by the goal line. Will definitely be something to watch as the spring goes on, and then clearly once two-a-days and the season gets going in the fall. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.